supply chain, everybody is assuming it's been broken by COVID. It wasn't broken by COVID. It wasn't right in the first place, and COVID highlighted what was wrong with the supply chain.
So, Bob, welcome to the IFA 2023 live podcast. How's your Berlin and IFA experience been?
Wonderful so far. Always good to come off the summer to an IFA. From our point of view, it helps restart business. It gets us going again, makes up for the summer where we're a little more quiet.
People are too busy on the beaches and having nice holidays.
Yeah. Most of my friends who are managers have to take that time in the office as a dealer or a distributor. So they're working in August very hard, getting ready for IFA, while all their people are on the beach. But they feel like it's a vacation because their people are on the beach. They get to concentrate on their work and get ready for IFA.
And how many IFAs have you been to now?
Okay, that's a little complicated, but my first one was 77.
Oh, wow, an IFA veteran.
Oh, really, a veteran, yes. Yes, I'm a consumer electronics veteran. My first job was I was hired by a magazine called High Fidelity Trade News for hi-fi dealers to start a new magazine in a new category of product called Consumer Electronics Product News. And my part of that gig was doing the daily newspaper at the CES, which was also new at the time, a long time ago.
Yeah. And so how have things evolved since then?
The market at the moment, everybody grabbed onto a lot of products for the pandemic. They keep themselves entertained. They bought big TVs and laptops and unified communications and remote work. And now, one of the categories that's most successful is the, for example, smart home, which is still relatively new for a lot of the dealers. And it's probably one of the better categories out of the lot while we're waiting for the replacement market, which we think will come back in 2024.
Mm-hmm. And then is there any specific smart home, and has that been impacted by the rise of kind of standards like Matter, which for listeners and viewers is a standard that effectively allows smart home and IoT gadgets to interconnect in a way where previously wasn't possible, because if you had something made by Samsung or Apple, they wouldn't necessarily be able to communicate together on the same network. Has that made any impact on the smart home space?
Yeah, it's very hopeful. At Expert Talks, we're one level ahead of that. So Matter is at the level where the public knows about it. We're dealing with the Thread group, which is one layer above Matter. It takes Matter, it takes KNX, it takes the other smart home protocols. So we're wherever the public is and knows about, we're 6 months ahead of them. We're not, for us, Matter is a given now, and we welcome Matter because the smart home has suffered from the lack of standards and a very diverse product range and a lack of connectivity. Yeah.
And then kind of looking into the next 5 years or so outside of smart home, are there any other categories or trends that's being worried about? I mean, I guess we could split this into kind of geopolitical or societal factors, and then, so for example, the ongoing war in Ukraine, issues with, like you mentioned, supply chain, and then product categories. So I guess if we cover that first one, is there any thoughts on how kind of global politics are shaping the market?
Yeah. So supply chain, everybody is assuming it's been broken by COVID. It wasn't broken by COVID. It wasn't right in the first place, and COVID highlighted what was wrong with the supply chain. So all the managers of all these big companies with the big stands here, who have supply chain managers, and all the manufacturers that feed them, they're all going back into the room going, okay, we got to rework this. We have to take a look at it and just redo it, because we can't have something like the pandemic interfering with that and dropping us into this big problem that we've had. So they're going back and they're trying to figure out, the first question is, there's a lot of eggs in baskets that are overseas. Should we bring it home? And nobody wants to bring it home. And frankly, the industry can't afford to bring it home. So they have to find a way to compromise and have still the extended supply chain, but then some local alternatives so they can have a mix, so they can buffer the experiences that if you're a manufacturer or distributor, you're not the captain of your own ship. You're riding on an ocean. That ocean is the general economy and geopolitical. And one day you're perfectly fine, and the next day, China and America are spitting at each other. Or, Russia invades the Ukraine, which affects us in slightly different ways. But it's, we're actually affected by Ukraine being invaded by Russia because it brought up a lot of conversations about Taiwan and China. Taiwan is significantly more important to the industry than China because all the high end, all the know-how that China has come from Taiwan. And Taiwan, if China wants to make something premium, they work with Taiwan on it. It gets very complicated in these areas, but the fact is that now people are looking at their supply chain as very sophisticated companies that want to deliver, like Amazon, the next day. Mm-hmm. And here you're talking about stuff that's made in China, has to be put on a container, and has to get to Amazon in the right day to be dropped off at your doorstep the next day. This is rocket science.
And has there been any grand unification, any thoughts or ideas that to fixing that problem? Is it simply you mentioned about bringing some supply local? Of course, it'd be too expensive to put everything, so from a European perspective, it'd be very tough to bring everything back here. But outside of that, what are some of the things they're looking at?
Well, where it gets complicated further is that the government sticks its nose in. So what happens is they go, okay, we have a chip shortage, and America's cutting off chip making technology from China, saying we don't want you to move into these advanced areas as fast, so we're going to hold it back. So when that happens, all the governments go, gee, America did that. What a great idea. So why don't we have our own chip making? So right now in Europe, they're raising giant funds to create chip factories in different countries in Europe, as well as in America. Intel's making a fortune going around collecting, from Germany, America, and all this. The stock is being impacted positively from it. But it's these chip factories, first of all, it's not easy making chips. Second of all, it takes a lot of talent that is not there in the workforce. Third, it takes 10 years to get it up, running, and tweaked to the point of where it's contributing. And in the meantime, we're still where we're at, with a lot of eggs in a basket and a lot of shortages. So the shortages are being solved, but they're not being solved by our clever people. They're being solved by the fact that people stop buying for a while. Thank you very much, people. So that's catching up.
Yeah. So if you had to think of, if we're kind of future gazing now, and you had to give the view of, the global business to business of the consumer electronics, what's the outlook for the 2030, 2035?
Well, all the real experts who are defining these things, are showing that we're in a good state in 2030. That the chip market is on the up, and that always drags the rest of us with it. So, again, there's a lot of optimism because technology always finds a way. It's like water. If there's a rock, it goes around.
Or Jurassic Park.
Or Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is actually my analogy for the vendors. We put them on an island and they fight each other, and somebody ends up eating somebody else.
Sounds a bit more Lord of the Flies.
Yes, that too. William Golding novel. Yeah. So but that's the fun part that you have to realize. For some people it's fun. They're gadget people. There's a lot of gadget journalists here and that. But the fun part is the business. The business is where the real battle lines are. And if you were interested in battle lines, that's where all the action is taking. For everything that happens, there's a reaction. So if Apple does one thing, people in the market either react towards it or react away from it. And when they do that, all the chess pieces move on the board in a three-dimensional way. Then you have to follow it.
Similar to the headphone jack. Yeah.
Yeah, there you
go. Or
the
removing the charger from the actual wall charger from the box. Then the whole industry suddenly has to reacquaint itself around that.
Yeah, or throwing out Intel chips.
Yeah, moving its own chips in-house.
Gee, what an interesting idea. Samsung does that too. Okay, the two most successful companies in the world do that. Okay, it leads you into different places.
Bob, thank you very much for taking the time. It's been utterly fascinating to hear the business side of IFA and just get like a different view on what's happening behind the scenes, behind closed doors.
Okay, thank you very much. Enjoyed being here. Thank you.
Cheers.